magazine PR is a dead format for the franchising industry.
PR in print is not dead at all.
Who's picking up a magazine nowadays, a franchising magazine, and going, oh, lovely, yeah, I'm so glad I just stumbled across this. I think that's a massive sign that print media is down.
Well, it seems like your mind's pretty made up. I don't think I'm going to sway you on this one.
But you've got to admit, digital's the way forward, right?
I don't have to admit.
So, welcome to the Full Disclosure Podcast with me, Ed Purnell, the founder of The Franchise, and my co-host,
Me, Jo Middleton, founder of Franchise Business School.
Each episode, one host will make and defend a strong statement from around the franchising industry. The other host has to then argue the opposite point of view. This week it's my turn, so let's get on with it. So, Jo, magazine PR is a dead format for the franchising industry. And full disclosure, up front, I started to believe that's, in the first time I was in the industry, and I'm not too far away from believing it now. So I'm looking forward to seeing your argument against it. I'm open to sort of having my views change slightly, but I think digital PR and digital marketing is the way forwards, just because you look at the stats, this makes sense, right?
So I feel that PR in print is not dead at all. I think you can actually bring it online by photographing it and using it in your online media as well as offline. Whereas if you have it only online and only have it digital, then you can't take it offline and have it in print. So I think it doubles up.
You can just print it out.
But what's the distribution channel for that? Where's that going to go?
Well, I guess that's my point. Like, who's picking up a magazine nowadays, a franchising magazine, and going, oh, lovely, yeah, I'm so glad I just stumbled across this, and they're more likely to be excited about the Beano or something later.
Maybe.
I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Well, full disclosure, I'm a complete geek when it comes to all things franchising, and I love a good franchising magazine. And if I'm travelling, if I'm going on a plane or a train, I will get a physical magazine and I'll go through, and I love highlighting and circling things and then looking them up online. So I don't think it's a dead medium because I still read the physical magazines myself.
Okay, but that's somebody in the franchising world. So is it just these magazines are great for actually talking to the franchise community? We always talk about there's this franchising bubble, right? So that's what I feel like. The magazines are read by people that are in the franchising industry already. But
what's the harm in that? Even if that is the case, are you talking about it from a more recruitment perspective, franchisee recruitment perspective?
I guess recruitment and PR kind of exercise. Yeah, and that seems to me to be what most brands use it for, is to say, look, this is what our brand is doing, and this is what our franchisees can gain from being part of the brand. That always seemed to be the story, and perhaps that's just the experience I had of the brand I worked for, was we wanted to use it for that. And I looked at the stats of, there's a certain number of readers, and I was like, well, how can we prove that? Because it's distributed here and there's a footfall of X amount, and I go, well, there's no guarantee someone's picking that up.
No, however, it adds to the reputation that the brand's got by being able to say that they were seen in such and such a magazine. So they can use it almost as a third-party validation and to raise brand awareness because they've been in whichever magazine it is without naming any. So as well as raising brand awareness, it provides prospective franchisees, no matter whether they're reading a franchise prospectus because they've downloaded it or they're seeing your brand online, to be able to see that you featured in certain magazines adds an extra layer of credibility to the brand.
Maybe, but that can still be online. We featured on this digital magazine for XYZ magazine.
Yeah, absolutely. But then you don't get the offline audience online.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't want the offline audience. I don't know.
I guess it boils down to who your ideal franchisees are and who you want to attract to your brand and what they read.
But that brings me on to my next point, really, is with online PR, you can target it by age, interests, location, background, industry, job title. There's so many more ways that you can actually focus in on your target audience and know that it's going to hit them, and your money is actually going towards, the target audience that you have. Okay, maybe not 100%, but actually more likely than a magazine that's kind of laying around in an airport lounge, for example.
Potentially, but then if we're talking about all printed PR rather than just franchise-specific PR, so if you know that your ideal franchisee are veterinary professionals, then you're going to advertise in veterinary publications that vet professionals get distributed to their practices that they're going to read on their lunch breaks, for example. So I think there is still a need for physical PR.
Yeah, I guess if you're looking at it from an industry to industry related PR, yeah, that makes sense. I think it's when you're trying to reach outside of the industry, that's when I think that digital is a much better approach. I mean, I've written down a whole list of benefits, but I started off actually just trying to think of, look at magazine PR and what do people think of it. And Forbes, this is back in 2020, wrote that weekday print circulation is just over half of what it was in 1994. This is for the US specifically.
Right.
I think that's a massive sign that print media is down. Digital has really had a big impact, and I think it comes round to the fact that there's just so many other benefits to digital. So I'm going to read this off because I can't remember them all properly, but backlinks, which improves your SEO score, highly targeted. You can do retargeting, so once people have looked at your PR content, you can then retarget them with a more direct advert to say, come and find out more about us. It can increase website traffic by directing people to your website. It's typically lower cost, easier to distribute. So physically, it's got to go through trucks and however else they get it out there. Digital, you can actually reach an international audience as well online. There's more chance of it going viral, so hitting the general public rather than just your targeted audience. Interactive, so people can comment on it, and you can show the personality of your brand a bit more. It's easy for people to access. They don't have to be walking through an airport lounge or sitting somewhere. You can integrate videos, so video PR into there, or audio through podcasts and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm struggling to see how you can win me over on print. Apart from industry to industry, I can see how that might be a suitable basis to use.
Well, it seems like your mind's pretty made up. I don't think I'm going to sway you on this one. But I really do stick to my guns, and I don't think that it is a dead medium at all. I think there's definitely a place for it. But it's how it's done and how it's used, maybe. So if you're a franchisee and you're looking to come on board, would you not check out other brands? As you wouldn't just go to the one that attracts you, you would check out other competitors as well, and you check out the franchising industry as a whole. You wouldn't just become a franchisee because you fancied becoming a franchisee. And in a magazine, the franchise industry magazines contain lots of franchise-specific information about the whole industry, not just the pet care industry or the children's activities industry. It's a whole overview, and you can pick up lots of ideas about what you like and you don't like about different brands rather than specifically the one you're looking at. So I'm sticking to my guns on that.
I know where you're coming from, and I agree completely with a lot of that. I think my process would be, I'd probably go to one of the aggregators or portals, whatever you want to call them, find the brands that I like best, and then I go and look at those individual websites. So I probably wouldn't fill in a lead form because I know I'd get spammed or something like this. So I'd then go to their individual websites, connect with them directly. But probably before that step, I would do some research around the industry to find out, what actually is a franchise, what do I need to know, what do I, what's interesting, what's important. And so I would type that into Google, and that would then probably direct me through to an article or a website, a digital magazine, which would have that article on there. So I would then go and find that information that way. So that's much easier for me to do than to go out there and pay £3 for a digital printed copy of a magazine.
It's cheap.
Or however much it costs. Yeah, look, it costs me nothing to do that on my phone while I'm
in the airport lounge.
Yeah, in the airport lounge. I don't have to walk up and find it, no, but like I could do it from the comfort of my home quickly and easily. So I think magazines, yes, they're a good place to sort of have lots of information and viewpoints, and it would be interesting to read through before, you know, making a full commitment to a brand or franchise. But I just think online makes sense.
And I think the 21st century world has seen a massive movement towards digital, and all the benefits that you've listed of digital PR make sense. However, different franchisors will have different profiles or avatars for their ideal franchisees, and some of them might not be in the digital world. Some of them might be wanting to target semi-retired accountants or something that want to read up and do their due diligence diligently.
Yeah, maybe that's a good point. Maybe it's just because I'm maybe a millennial. I grew up in that kind of world, perhaps. I don't know. And I remember having...
You're too young.
Yeah, but I guess then that brings around the argument that brands, you know, for the future need to start looking into it if they're not already looking at, you know, digital PR, because you know, the older generation are only going to get older, and it's probably my generation coming through that are the ones that are likely to be buying or investing in franchise licenses, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it needs to be a layered approach based on what the ideal franchisees, that avatar or whatever you want to call it, the profile of the ideal franchisee that the brand's identified. It's based on where they hang out. So if they're hanging out online, then cool, then that makes sense to target your marketing there. But if they are more likely to read if they're more likely to read printed magazines, physical, thank you, then the franchisor would be better off spending some budget on that in hand with some social media marketing or whatever marketing digitally works.
Okay, maybe it's not completely dead. Then there's still some scope for it. Hey, don't ring it yet.
I won.
No.
Oh,
it's not, but it's dying. I think it's being phased out. So I think we're sort of I've compromised slightly, but you've got to admit digital's the way forwards, right?
I don't have to admit. I admit to a layered approach.
I can edit that so you admit. Right, let's call it a day on that one. Franchise fees are too high.